Hi, I'm Sarah. This is Hardcover Hearts, and this is my week of reading wrap-up where I talk about the books that I read this week, what I'm currently reading, and potentially could read next week. I had a really good reading week. Let me jump right in because there's a lot to talk about, as always. So first up, I got very, very excited when my hold at the library came in for this book because this is made it to the Booker shortlist. Now, I'll admit, there's a few books on that list that I just am not excited about. I have no interest in reading. But this was one that I thought could be interesting. And this is Western Lane. And this is by Chetna Maroo. I also thought, oh my goodness, this is perfect for Shorty September because it's only like 160 pages. So it's a really slim, little powerful book. This book was lovely. It was really lovely. It's a story of a family. So we open up and we have an aunt in the kitchen and kind of trying to help organize things for this family that is in deep grief over the death of the mother. There's 3 daughters and a husband, and this is her husband's brother. And she's a little bossy. she's a little kind of in everybody's business, but she means well and she loves them deeply. It's very clear that this family is thrown off guard because of this death in the family, and the father is really at a loss of what to do. There are 3 daughters, and the one that we spend most of our time with is Gopi, and she is 11 years old, and she is a squash player extraordinaire. She really does a great job and knows how to play, and it's something that she bonds with her father over. And it's also something she has an exceptional talent for. And what we find is that the grief shows up differently in each member of the family, and also in how the community is responding. This is set in England, and one of the things that happens before the aunt and uncle leave is the girls overhear the aunt saying, you know, if it becomes too much, we can take one of the girls. And this becomes something that creates this tension and this fear that they're going to be separated. So one of the sisters steps in and kind of becomes a de facto mother and tries to take care of everyone because she's trying to keep the family together. But Gopi's really young, and so what she does is just focuses on squash because it makes her father happy. It gives him something to focus on and gives her something to focus on, and they bond. And you can see that she, at her age, has no vocabulary for the kinds of feelings that she's experiencing: rage, sadness, fear. But that all is something that can be played out in the squash court that she's in. And the hyper focus allows her to kind of forget everything else and be very present, which I think is something that she really needs. And probably more of her family needs it too. I'm going to pause there because I don't want to ruin anything, but just to say that this was a really, really lovely book. And I felt very deeply for these characters. And specifically, I want her to go on and win every single medal she possibly can. Then next up, I read this book, and this is something that covered both Shorty September and what I was trying to do as a Women in Translation Month redo because I didn't get any read in August. This fit the bill for both. This is A Sunday in Ville by Dominique Barbaris, and this is translated by John Cullen. This was longlisted for the Prix Goncourt and shortlisted for the Prix Femina. I thought this was a very interesting book. It was deceptive. It comes off like this Sunday casual, languorous, kind of slow moving story. And we have a first person perspective here from a woman who lives in Paris with her husband, and she's going to see her sister and her sister's family in the suburbs. Now, her husband has a lot of disdain for the suburbs and disdain for the sister. He calls them boring. He thinks they're not very intelligent, definitely not intellectual. And he always hates going there, makes a deal out of it. So she's going on her own. And you're not really sure how much of that point of view did he get on his own, or was he influenced by her, or the vice versa? Was she influenced by his point of view? So we really get this look at this very urban Parisian woman who is taking her Sunday and traveling to see her sister, and then observing kind of suburban Parisian life. And you can tell that she really doesn't understand her sister, and her sister really doesn't understand her. There's a lot of assumptions made about the other, and it comes to a head this afternoon and early evening as they sit outside, and her sister tells her a story that surprises and shocks her about something that her sister got involved in. And it really changes the dynamic of how they see each other. So, it's not earth-shattering book. I think it's one of those quiet, introspective, interesting books. I liked it fine. I didn't think it was phenomenal, but I enjoyed the time I spent with the book. Okay, the next up, I did an audiobook. And this one was kind of adjacent to Spinster's September. I guess it could fit to a certain degree, but the reason I was interested in it is because it's set in Agatha Christie's home, one of her manor estates. And the book is called Death at Greenway. And this is by Rader-Day. And so this is there's a lot of intricate things happening in this book, a lot of threads. I think the author did a good job at pulling them all together. We have the story of this woman who is a spinster. Now she's young, so I don't know if you could, I'm not sure what age defines spinsterhood. So in this book, we follow Bridie, also known as Bridget Kelly. Bridget has been fired from her nurse training program because one of the people in her care died because of an injection that she gave. The dosage wasn't right. She's convinced that it wasn't her fault about the dosage, that the dosage was inaccurately given to her. She was just the one who gave the injection. But because of that, she is dismissed. And this is all she's ever wanted to be, was a nurse, to fulfill a promise made to her mother. And she is really devastated and doesn't know what she's going to do. Now, this is during the height of the Blitz, so there's a need for nurses. She gets another opportunity to redeem herself by joining up with this group that's going to be taking care of children that are kind of refugees from the city and from the Blitz, going to stay at this manor home. Nobody knows where they're going, and it turns out they land at getting off the train and being taken to Agatha Christie's manor home, which is called Greenway. And there's a bunch of children that she has to help with. And there's another nurse who's also called Bridget, who chooses the name Gigi. Now, Gigi is very different than she is. She's never met anyone remotely like her. She's a rule breaker. She's anti-authoritarian. She doesn't really seem to be very suited for the job. And there's a lot of mystery around Gigi. How she acts, where she's come from, how she thinks. And so she's a complete puzzle to Bridget, but they're paired together because they're both supposed to be looking after these children. We have other people who are staying at the home. There is the woman who's kind of in charge of this refugee process, who's a woman who came into a very, very large inheritance and just wants to do good. And she wants to use her time well. And this is something that she thinks would be a good use of her efforts and time. And so they are staying as paying guests at the home. And she has a kind of despicable, creepy husband. And this is her second husband who really married her for her money. And she kind of knows it. And then there's all sorts of other people who are associated with this enterprise, as well as a butler and people who take care of the home there as well. They're trying to get their heads around how they're going to take care of all of these children, the fears that the children have of being displaced. They are actually closer to the coast, and so it seems like a strange place to put the children. But they're told that it's safe. Everything is starting to get into a rhythm, and then a body washes up on the shore, which all of a sudden leads to the mystery of, well, who killed this person? And that kind of starts it off. I found this to be engaging, entertaining, and I do really, really like this type of situation where we have a tie-in to someone famous, but it's not the central point of the book. It's more alluded to or adjacent to. I really like that. I think that's a nice way to do it. And yeah, this was a good mystery, a good standalone mystery. I will read more from this author for sure. Then lastly, a book that I read that also fit the Women in Translation section and also the size for Shorty September. And this is Consent. So this was written by Vanessa Springora and it was translated by Natasha Lehrer. This was a very powerful book. It's a memoir and it's a first-person account of this this woman's past as she's looking and reflecting back on a relationship that she had that was wholly inappropriate, and she comes to understand that she was groomed by a man 30 years her senior, who was a luminary of the French writing community. And he was a novelist who wrote very openly about his belief that it is the duty of men to initiate boys and girls into sex. And he claimed that it was done through histories and it's a beautiful thing. And he proudly had this mantle. Now, she is the only one who didn't know about this. She just knew that he was famous and that her mother introduced him to her at a party. And though the mother was at that stage innocent, she wasn't setting her daughter up. Though, as things start to progress and he starts to actually court her and try to find time to meet her and to write letters with her and engage in her in this very romantic way, at that stage, the mother didn't really know what to do and just abdicated responsibility. And at this stage, Vanessa's 14. And you see the manipulation by this man who tried to create this sense of, let's write to each other because it's so romantic and we can't really talk on the phone. This is the only way that I really know how you think and feel. And so he had her send him letters and she received his, creating this heightened romantic sense. A department that's supposed to look after minors and making sure that they're okay and not being exploited were alerted to this situation, that there was something happening between this man and this girl. And instead of actually helping, the mother kind of pushed it aside, and that kind of formed this us against them, us against the world, no one understands our love kind of philosophy that he exploited in her, and she just ate it up. And we start to see how she slowly becomes more entrenched and more into his world, and then starts to notice things and recognize things about him that she really didn't see and know. And it's only when she sees him with another girl, when he told her he was going to be in a different country, that the facade starts to break. I won't go much further except to say that because of what she wrote about in this book, this was after Me Too, so she was kind of inspired by these women talking about and claiming their own voice. Because of her writing and her story being told, consent laws in France were changed. So it's a huge win for her, because as you read, you'll understand, if you want to pick this up, there's some things that were done that really dimmed her voice and made it so that she did not have one. And he held all the power in a unique way. So I think this was very powerful book. And ironically, I spoke about this with my French teacher, my French language teacher, just the other day. And then yesterday morning, she sent me an article that was in the paper about Vanessa. She just appeared in a news article just randomly. So the timing was really good for that. So yeah, this was a powerful book. Really, really liked it. And I thought it had a different take on all the things that we have been reading about. And I think it's akin to My Dark Vanessa, but in real life form, true woman's take on what happened to her. So that's what I read, and I'm very sad to be leaving Shorty September and Spinster September, because I loved it very, very much. And I can't believe it went by as fast as it did. I really thought it was going to be longer. But here we are in Victober. So let me talk about what I'm currently reading. I am reading this with my Author Spotlight series group. This is Helen DeWitt. This is Some Trick, and this is a collection of short stories. So we're only reading 3 short stories a week and then talking about them, which is really good because Helen DeWitt is a very specific writer and has a lot to say. So continuing with this, the next book I'm reading is a continuation of Spinster September. And this is something that I'd never heard of this particular book before, except for watching people talk about what they were reading for Spinster September. So I'm really, really thankful to Nora at Pear Jelly on Instagram for starting Spinster September, and for also really highlighting what other people were doing, because that gave me access to this. And this book is The Slaves of Solitude by Patrick Hamilton. And in it, we're meeting Ms. Roach, who's a very unique character. She is a woman who has moved out of kind of central London out to, it feels like a neighborhood, a borough, maybe out more on the outskirts. And she's living in a boarding house, and there's all sorts of people in this boarding house, all sorts of characters, including some Americans, and a truly vile bully of a man who just kind of lives to needle everyone and kind of take self-importance to new heights in each dining experience that they have. But so I'm enjoying that so far. The writing is magnificent, and I loved it for the very first moment I picked it up, because London is very much a character, and place is very much a character, and I just love books like that. So looking forward to continuing with that. And then I started the audiobook of The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Brontë, and enjoying it very, very much. I see why everyone is very excited about it. So I'm excited by your enthusiasm. And that's about it for this. I will say that we made the decision of what the next Author Spotlight series is going to be, and we're choosing Toni Morrison. So we're going to start in November, and it'll be through the month of January, stopping at the beginning of February. And we're not reading all of Toni Morrison's books, but a good sampling, I think 7, because a few of them are novellas. So I'll be doing a video specifically talking about that and having a sign-up list in case you are interested. We meet every Sunday on Voxer and have amazing conversations. This group is brilliant. So I'm very delighted that I've come up with a list of authors that have piqued excitement with the group. And so we will be reading different authors through the entire year of 2024. So much more to be shared about that. But next up is Toni Morrison. So if you are so inclined or so interested, keep an eye out for that video, because there'll have to be a specific form that you fill out to get entered in. And I'll start a specific group for that author spotlight. So that's it for me for now. I hope your reading was fantastic, and I hope you are looking forward to some amazing books ahead of you. Have a great week, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.